And naturally, I thought that even little kids needed cell phones today. So my wife could give them a text when dinner's ready, or they could watch a movie instead of drive me crazy in the car, or they can get that app that shows them how fun it is to clean their room, or they could just give me a call if they need help when they get kidnapped. But little did I know what I was getting myself into.
None of us knew.
I mean, this week I tried my most brilliant plan ever to outsmart them. Right? I told them, when you kids were small, it was important that your mother and I give you everything that you want to make you feel special, which, according to child psychologists, is necessary for the development of happy, healthy little personalities. But now that you're both over 5 years old, it's time for your old dad to teach you the ways of the world. And the fact of the matter is that life is one terrible disappointment after another. No matter how much you want something, you're never gonna get it. So from now on, no matter what you kids want, I'm gonna say no. However, every once in a while, I'll say yes. And you'll look for a reason why so you can get me to say yes more often, but there won't be one. Because that's what life is like. Getting what you want is purely arbitrary. But they just throw their little hands up and they cry, "But Dad, what if you're wrong and zombies really do exist? Shouldn't someone in the house know how to blow their heads off so Mom doesn't get her brains eaten out?" So what could I do? I bought them the video game app.
I blame the toy manufacturers. You know, if not only do they put videos that talking about how cool their games are on every website our kids visit, they also employ parent psychologists whose job is to teach our kids how to con money out of us. Just the other day, my kids came to me with proof that money can buy happiness. That is, if you're a kid.
You miss your adorable 7-year-old little girl hit one home run at one Little League game, and you spend the rest of your life spending hundreds and hundreds of dollars on all the fancy new Barbie clothes. So when Barbie's walking down the little Barbie runway, she's got all the new fall couture clothes. You know, everybody's so worried about kids' self-esteem these days. What about our self-esteem, huh? You know, we are supposed to be the captains of industry. Now I can't even outsmart a 5-year-old.
You know, I swear the only reason my daughters wanted me to stop smoking and to lose weight was because they didn't want their cash cow to croak on them.
You know what happened to me yesterday? My second grader told me that if our generation really cared about kids today, we would have done a better job of making life better for them. But since that we didn't straighten out the English language, so words like through aren't spelled the way they sound, I owe him big time. I tried to tell him that we got as far as spell checker, and that fighting for civil rights for the handicapped and for gays was more important, but he didn't give a damn about that. Now, I split my allowance between my kid and myself.
You know, when my kids wanted the new iPhone-controlled robot, they said to me that it was the least I could do to buy it for them because they provide an excuse for me to get to go fun places like Disneyland and Waterworld.
The second my wife told me that she had some big client coming into town, I knew for a fact that I was going to be the one to take those kids to their shots, and they were going to hate me for the rest of their lives. And I've been paying and paying and paying for it ever since.
You know, we can't use the same excuses our fathers used on us. When I told my kids if I bought them ice cream more than twice a year, they'd get struck by lightning, they asked Siri if it was true. Then they gave me a big lecture about lying like I always give to them. So what choice did I have? I told them I was kidding and I turned the car around and I took them to Baskin-Robbins.
Tell me about it.
If I had a supportive wife, I'd be out there on the golf course instead of in here with you guys. But she's part of the problem. She's always downloading new apps on the kids' phones to show them that she's the coolest mom in the world. I wanted to be the one that showed my kids how to make the neatest paper airplane, carve the neatest jack-o'-lantern, turn a picture of our neighbor Old Man Tunney into Mr. Potato Head.
My daughter told me that if I don't treat her like the most important little girl in the world, she was going to grow up and just be competitive with every woman that she met for the rest of her life, just like my sister and I are. And that is not something I want to get into right now.
Every time I tell my wife how spoiled our kids are, she says that we owe it to them for being the magnificent little creatures that they are and being in our lives.
You know, I was always picked last for my neighborhood's baseball game. It scarred me for life. And I swore I was never going to let that happen to my daughter. But it's my husband who used that batting cage app that wiped the smirk off of all the neighborhood kids' faces when my daughter knocked that ball clear over the fence and into our neighbor's window.
I just wanted to spend time with my most favorite person in the whole world. You guys are great, but I love my daughter. And we used to talk over imaginary tea with her friend Teddy and Raggedy Ann, and it was wonderful. So I thought, why not help her out with her homework? But do you guys have any idea what they're teaching for math in third grade?
Yeah, we do.
Calculus! It's calculus! And I was like, Kayla, what happened to addition, subtraction, multiplication, division? And she looked at me like I was nuts, okay? And she's like, Dad, we all have calculators in our phones?
And that's not all. There's an app for everything now. There is one where Einstein is in an educational rock band called the Quantum Mechanics. He has a song called The Theory of Relativity.
They even got one of those the web talkie radio shows. It's called the Philosopher's Treehouse, and it's got that Kant, it's got that Descartes, it's got the Nietzsche's, and they just sit around in a treehouse and they talk about all the kids' problems, and they bring in a different philosopher every week.
Yeah, and don't forget that Science Game Center app where the kids can make cells come alive. They just add these components and it makes them come alive and multiply and then adapt to climate change.
Of course, I shuffled through college.
You know what the worst part is? You know what developmental psychologists are saying? That daughters marry men who are like their fathers. So my son-in-law will be a blithering idiot who doesn't even understand third grade math.
What have we done?
Look, for so many of us, this is the greatest time ever to be alive. We no longer have to spend decades putting in tens of thousands of grueling hours of work to learn what we need to know to be highly intelligent and capable people. Our smartphones provide us with all the answers we need when we need them. However, there are some areas in life that app developers haven't gotten around to yet. Apps that would make the lives of so many people so much better. People like our golfing buddies as well as those who think about getting into golfing. So what's needed now is for people like you who watch this video to help app developers get their priorities straight. So in the comments, tell them what kinds of apps that people like your golfer buddies desperately need so that they won't spend an arm and a leg on golf clubs, clothes, and outrageous annual fees that they'll never use. And, don't worry about 95% of the world's golf clubs going out of business. Believe me, nobody will notice.